Yo, we're going to make some money today. I have 4 parlays on a few different sports books, NBA, NHL playoffs, as well as the MLB regular season. Tons of bets, tons of parlays. So hopefully we make some money. Let's get into the plays.
Yo, so we're going to start out looking at PrizePicks. Yesterday was a decent day. I have a ton more picks for you today. I have 2 plays on PrizePicks. In both of my first plays I'm going to show you, we're going to start out looking at the OddsJam odds screen. So you just go to screen, odds screen, and all this tool does is for whatever market you want to look at, it essentially gives you a complete layout of where are all sportsbooks posting lines, right? So I say this in every video, but what makes sports betting really interesting is all of these books, they all try to set lines independently. So what you're going to notice is in NHL player shot on goal, there's a pretty big line discrepancy, right? For Kyle Connor, PrizePicks has his line at 3. Every other data point, every sportsbook, right? The other fantasy sites, No House Advantage and Underdog Fantasy, they all have Kyle Connor's line at 3.5 shots on goal. PrizePicks is at 3. Every other data point, every other book is at 3.5. PrizePicks is too low, right? So we want to take the over on PrizePicks. We have numerous data points. I mean, literally dozens of data points. You can see we read in PointsBet odds. They have slightly different odds from location to location. So we read in, PointsBet Australia, PointsBet Canada. But long story short, PrizePicks is too low, right? We have dozens of data points telling us Kyle Connor's line should be at 3.5. The other fantasy sites are at 3.5. The sports books are at 3.5, and PrizePicks is at 3. They're too low. So we want to take the over, right? And essentially the benefit, the value, the edge that we're finding in the market is if Kyle Connor has exactly 3 shots, right? If you take Kyle Connor's over, if you take his over on PrizePicks, you're taking over 3. So if he has exactly 3 shots, you're going to push, you're going to tie, right? Our 5 flex is going to become a 4 flex. Whereas if you took his over 3.5 on Underdog or any sports book, and he has exactly 3 shots on goal, you're going to lose. So the benefit, the value we found is if Kyle Connor has exactly 3 shots, we're going to tie, everyone else is going to lose. And I know that may not seem that likely, like, oh, what's the probability? Kyle Connor has exactly, 3 shots on goal, and you're going to see lines are moving here. Those line movements are highlighted in green and red. But long story short, if you go to Kyle Connor's game log, in 2 of the past 5 games, he's had exactly 3 shots. So on 4-13 against the Avalanche, and then on 4-10 against the Sharks, he had exactly 3 shots. So those are spots where we would have pushed, we would have tied on PrizePicks. Anyone else who bet is over 3.5 would have lost, right? So we found value. So long story short, we're not going to win every single bet as a sports bettor, so we're looking for advantageous odds. We're looking for line discrepancies where books are giving us value. They're off from the rest of the market, right? And that doesn't mean we're going to win every bet. I never claim to win every bet on PrizePicks, but when you're finding value in the market, you're finding an edge. That's how you beat the books long term. So that's the first play I went with. And then you can also see another line discrepancy in player rebounds. So I took Harrison Barnes, right? You can see right here, his rebound line is 5 on PrizePicks. All of the sports books, Underdog Fantasy, PrizePicks' is direct competitor, they have Harrison Barnes at 4.5. Right? So PrizePicks is at 5. All the sportsbooks are at 4.5. So in this case, you want to take his under, right? You want to take Harrison Barnes under. All the other data points are at 4.5. PrizePicks is at 5, so we want to take the under. And long story short, these differences in the odds, like if you look at Harrison Barnes, 4+ rebounds, that's minus 220 on FanDuel. Harrison Barnes, 6+ rebounds is plus 155. So these jumps, even just these half of a rebound jumps, are really impactful in terms of the odds, right? And for the reason we just explained with Kyle Connor, right? His distribution is centered around 3 shots on goal. He has 3 shots on goal in probably 25% of his games. So if we're able to find value and we're able to push when anyone else taking his over is losing, that is finding a profitable bet, right? That is how you find value in the market. So those are the first 2 plays I went with. Then I went ahead and I flipped over to the OddsJam Positive Expected Value tool. So essentially what's really unique about PrizePicks, and I've explained this in other videos, but PrizePicks is a fixed payout platform, right? If we take overs, if we take all unders, if we switch out this pick for a different player, you're going to notice our payout doesn't change, right? PrizePicks is a fixed payout platform. They're not changing your payouts based on the picks you select. Any 5 picks you select, doesn't matter if you take overs or unders, you're always getting the same payout. Right, so we've broken down the math before of 5 flex plays, but essentially to be profitable betting on 5 flexes on PrizePicks, you need to win at least 54.25% of your picks. Right? So for example, let's say you're hitting 55% of your plays, you're losing 45%. So long story short, if we go back here, if I clear this, if you're able to select your over-unders correctly 55% of the time on PrizePicks, playing 5 flexes, your ROI is going to be 5%. You're going to be profitable on PrizePicks, just winning 55% of your picks. So basically, you just want to find the player props that are winning at the highest possible rate. And the reason you want to do that is, right, PrizePicks, they don't change your payouts based on you selecting over or under. So all you want to do is increase the win probability for each of your picks, right? You want to find spots, essentially, where sportsbooks have an over really heavily favored, and you can get that line on PrizePicks or an under. So as an example, right here for James Harden, and you're going to notice this plays on the OddsJam Positive EV Tool, is all of the sportsbooks have Harden's over 2.5 made threes as the heavily favored outcome. Right? Because PrizePicks, they're not changing our payouts based on us selecting over or under, you want to look for spots where sportsbooks have an over or an under juiced to around minus 140 odds. You're going to see FanDuel has Harden's over at minus 140. DraftKings, which you can see right here, they have James Harden favored to go over 2.5 threes. All of the sportsbooks are telling you, hey, Harden's a lot more likely to go over 2.5 threes as opposed to under, right? All of the sportsbooks have his over as the heavily favored outcome. So this is a great play to include in your PrizePicks entry, right? All of the sportsbooks, we have numerous data points, right? Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, Resorts World, TonyBet, literally every single sportsbook, BetOnline, DraftKings, they all have Harden's over heavily favored, so that's a great play to include in your PrizePicks entry. So this tool that I use to find a lot of my plays on PrizePicks is called the Positive EV Betting Tool. And basically the way it works is you just select the sportsbooks you use. So PrizePicks is one of the platforms you use. All it's doing, right? All this platform is doing is it's scanning the lines on all the sportsbooks. It's scanning all of these lines from PrizePicks. It's reading in millions of odds and just showing you those rare few betting opportunities where an over or an under is really heavily favored, and you can still get that play on PrizePicks because that's how you know your play is winning over 54.25% of the time. So we're using sportsbook odds to find value on PrizePicks. All the books have Harden's over as the heavily favored outcome. We want to include Harden's over in our PrizePicks entry. So you don't have to use, there's also a free tool. It's currently free to use. It's in beta mode. It's called the Fantasy Screen, but it currently, it works pretty similar to the EV tool in that all it does is it pulls in all the lines from sportsbook. So here you can see once again, Harden over 2.5 made threes at -135 on DraftKings. It's just pulling in the odds from all the sportsbooks. And it's telling you, hey, Harden's over is the heavily favored outcome, so you probably want to include this in your PrizePicks entry, right? This is a play that's winning over 54.25% of the time based on sportsbook odds, based on how much juice they have towards the over. It's clear that this is a play that's winning over 54.25% of the time and is profitable to include in your PrizePicks entry. So I went with Harden over 2.5 threes. Then you can see, in the Nationals-Twins game, so we can switch over to the MLB. And then if we go to first inning, so let's go back here, and if we go to first inning, what you're going to see is in the Twins game, right, all of the sportsbooks have the under half of a total run. So the NRFI, the no runs in the first inning, all of the sportsbooks have the NRFI as the heavily favored outcome, right? The NRFI is heavily juiced on all the sportsbooks, so the NRFI is a lot more likely to occur. This game, Twins-Nationals, it's a lot more likely that there's going to be 0 runs in the first inning as opposed to 1+ runs, right? And all the sportsbooks are telling you, hey, the NRFI is the heavily favored outcome in this game. So this is a great player prop, long story short, to include in your PrizePicks entry, or a great bet. I guess it's not technically a player prop. And then you can see in the NHL, there's value as well. So you go to NHL, you go to player shot on goal. So if we go here, Mark Fliff, all the sportsbooks have his under 2.5 shots on goal as the heavily favored outcome, right? So getting his under on PrizePicks is a profitable play. So I ended up grabbing a lot of, picks for my PrizePicks entries from the Fantasy Screen. Again, this tool is currently free to use. Check it out. But here's my first play. So Kyle Connor over 3 shots on goal. Harrison Barnes under 5 rebounds. The first few picks we went through. Nationals, Twins, no runs first inning. Right? No runs first inning, the NRFI. James Harden over 2.5 threes. Dinwiddie over 24.5 points plus assists. So that's the first play I went with. And then I also ended up switching this play on Kyle Connor for Mark Fliff, which you can see right here. $300 to win $3,000, and the other 4 picks are the same.
So I found some good value on PrizePicks, was able to get down 2 flex plays, but I say this all the time, as a sharp bettor, because all these books set lines independently, you want to have as many books as possible. Right? So there was value on PrizePicks, but there's also value on other sports books. So now we're going to be going through some parlays on a different book.
So another sportsbook that I've been using pretty frequently and finding a lot of value on is called Fliff. So Fliff is an interesting platform because you only have to be 18 years or older to sign up, whereas on FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, if you want to bet on sports on these platforms, you got to be 21 or older, so that's one benefit. And also, Fliff is available in basically every location, California, Texas, Florida. If you're in any of those states, you don't have access to DraftKings or, Caesars or FanDuel, but you do have access to Fliff. So I say this all the time, but as a sharp bettor, you want access to as many books as possible, right? All of these books, they set lines independently, and you never know which book is going to be slipping up and offering value on a given day. We went through this play on PrizePicks earlier. Sometimes there's a lot of value on PrizePicks. Sometimes there's more value on FanDuel. And sometimes there's more value on Fliff. So you're going to see the first play I went with, pretty simple, is Maxey over 3.5 assists, 3.99% profit margin on this play, which is really, really high, right? And a lot of people, you have to wrap your head around this. A lot of people will be like, a 4% profit margin doesn't seem that good. It's incredible, right? What you have to remember about sports betting is your returns are daily. If you just had a 1% ROI or profit margin betting on the MLB, there's 162 games in the season. So if you have a 1% ROI betting on the MLB, that's an 162% ROI or edge over the course of the season. So in sports betting, your returns are daily, so things compound quickly. Think about it, 4% profit margin, 30 days in a month. If you're able to find 4% profit margin bets over a 30-day period, 4 times 30, that's an 120% return over the course of the month if you're able to consistently find plays with a 4% ROI. So I took Maxey over 3.5 assists. I mean, you can see we're getting very clear value here. Most other sportsbooks have this around plus 110 odds. Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker in the world, they're all the way down at plus 107. Bet Online, a really sharp sportsbook, they're all the way at plus 100. So again, I say it so frequently, but people love to overcomplicate sports betting, right? It's like people overcomplicate, I gave this example previously, I thought it was kind of funny, but it's like people overcomplicate getting good grades in school. It's like you study and you work hard. As a sports bettor, you find value. People always try to come up with clever ways to cheat. Oh, I'll sleep with the teacher, whatever, to get better grades. But realistically, all you have to do is study. And it's no different in sports betting. All you have to do is find value in the market, right? You're literally like a day trader, like an investor. You're hunting for bets that are mispriced. You're hunting, right, for value in the market. Just like an investor looks for underpriced assets, you're looking for underpriced bets as a sports bettor. So here you're going to see Maxi. We have dozens of data points, tons of data points, posting odds on Maxi's over under 3.5 assists. They're all around, plus 110 odds, and we're getting plus 130 on Fliff. So we found a clear line discrepancy. Fliff is clearly screwing up. They're off from the rest of the market. We have dozens of data points telling us this line should be set around plus 110, and we're getting it at plus 130. So that's enough value to justify the bet to beat the VIG and be a profitable play. So when you're using OddsJam, you just select the books you use, and then you hit the bets in bold and in green. And I say this all the time too, but some people will be like, I don't like betting on the MLB or whatever. I just follow the value. If there's more bets on the MLB, I don't care if it's the, Super Bowl, right? I want to bet on whatever's profitable, whether it's tennis. So you'll see some people, they'll filter for specific leagues or specific sports on OddsJam. But for me, all I do is I set my max odds between, typically it's around plus 190, but for this video, I made it plus 125. All I do is I take the plays with value. I don't care if that value's on the MLB. Here you can see for Shane McClanahan, over 6.5 strikeouts, we're getting minus 105 on Fliff. No other book is giving better than minus 114. And then here for Hayden Wakinski, we're getting his under 5.5 strikeouts at minus 155. DraftKings has this at minus 195, and Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker, has this at minus 180. So we're just following the data, right? We're following the data, hunting for value in the market. We have videos about how to calculate your profit margin, stuff like that you can watch if you want to. But long story short, I'm just finding value in the market.
Yo, so I got two parlays on Fliff. You're going to see them both right here. I've said this before, Fliff is a platform with a lot of value. And best of all, it's available in almost every location, California, Texas, Florida. You don't have access to FanDuel, DraftKings, but you do have Fliff. And there's a lot of profitable plays, a lot of profitable bets on Fliff. So my two parlays are from Fliff. Let's make money.